So we come back to our speak-a-thon. The next speaker is doing the 5th speech out of the advanced manual, Training on Television. What I'll be doing here is a speech on getting rid of notes. And I will be doing it in the most creative fashion. And then I will need all of you to evaluate the speech just like it says in my manual, except we will do this on YouTube instead of at this Toastmasters meeting. With that, we have notes. We have lots of them. Notes for our speeches, we have note cards, we have notes in our classes, and it's the end of the semester. We have to get rid of them. Well, why should we get rid of notes? Well, if we're a speaker, there's 3 great reasons why we should get rid of our notes. 1 is they're distracting. 2, they're limiting. And 3, they're just not green. 1, they're distracting. Not only are they distracting for the audience to see you fiddling around with these things, flipping pages, looking down at them, but they're also distracting for you. You may look at the notes and, oh, where did I go? What part of the speech am I in? I see them here, but there's so much. You get lost. So we don't really need the notes for that specific reason. The next is they're limiting. If I have my notes in this hand, it kind of limits the gestures I can do with my notes. I have a couple of things I can do, but that's really about it. It also kind of keeps you attached to the podium. You can't come out here and explain what you're going to do with bigger, broader gestures. You're pretty much limited to just right here. The next thing is it's just not green to have your notes. We're going green in this society. So what are we going to do with our notes? Well, as good and professional college students, we're going to turn them into beer. What better way to put those notes to good use? How do we do that? We start with this big beer kettle. Alright, we have 8 gallons of beer-making mischief. We are going to get something good out of that information. Well, how exactly does it work that we turn our notes into beer? Okay, oh yeah, that is a kind of a confusing process. Well, beer is made by turning starches and sugars into the water and breaking those down. You break it down into the water, and that gives what's called yeast something to ferment down into alcohol. So we got a bunch of notes here. We got index cards, we have papers, we have our notes right here. We're going to throw them all into the kettle. Okay, well if we just made beer out of paper, it might not taste so good. So we're going to add some other things. The paper is just going to be our little adjunct. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this kit, Irish Red Ale, from Beer, and More Beer. We're going to use that as the steeping grain. This is kind of like making tea, except in a really big kettle. Okay, so we're going to bring it to 154 degrees. That's going to be ideal for making a really malty beer with a nice round flavor. So we're going to bring it up to 154. We're going to leave our notes and our steeping grains in there for about 30 minutes. Okay? And then we're actually going to take all of those out. We're going to bring the beer, or what it's now called, wort, to a boil. Then we're going to add the most important part, which is our malt extract. This is an extract brew, so we're going to add all of this. And these are the main consolidated sugars that are extracted from grains, mainly barley. So we would pour all of this into our kettle as it's boiling there. We would then add most key ingredients, hops, to add the bitterness, the aroma, and the flavor to our beer. And then we're going to boil this for about an hour. This is going to break down those sugar chains. It's going to take all of those things out and what we had there. Then we're going to have about 5 gallons of what's called wort left. We're going to take that, take it out of this little spigot here and put it into this big jug. It's called a carboy. It's a 5-gallon carboy there. And then we let it ferment after putting one of these little guys, known as an airlock, to keep all the unwanted bacteria out. Now fermenting is the hard part. You gotta wait 2 weeks to get this. But that's where the yeast breaks down the alcohol, and well, if you're going to get the alcohol, that's the most important part, right? Okay, so after the 2 weeks, we'll take it here, get our bottle, put all this stuff right into a bottle, put a little cap onto it, and bam! We have ourselves some beer. So now what? Well, P-A-R-T-Y, because we're college students with 5 gallons of beer, what else are we going to do? And that is the best way to get rid of any notes. Mr. Toastmaster.